Alrighty, guys. We're sitting down with Mark Hancock today. Mark is a level 5 official, which is the highest accreditation you can get for officialing, and you are more than likely the most experienced official in Australia.
Yep. At the moment, probably I'll be close to that, yeah.
Yep.
I've done more motocross meetings as an official. Not supercross so much, but certainly motocross at that level. We don't recognise level 5 in Australia, by the way.
Right.
We only recognise level up to level 4. That's the highest normal accreditation. You have to move on into the world scene to actually get your level 5. So you can't actually gain it here. You actually have to go overseas to do it.
And that's what you've done?
Yeah, I've done that.
Yeah, gotcha.
So I went to Indonesia initially to do my clerk of course when we were running the club was going to run the Junior World Championship in 2015. So we needed a clerk of course in Australia. There weren't any that were qualified. So I went to Indonesia and that was an interesting trip.
Yep.
Had to get picked up at the airport because I couldn't speak any Indonesian, and you're landing in Jakarta. That was pretty interesting experience, and got picked up and delivered to the hotel. This is after the bombings of Bali and so on and so forth. And you go to the hotel and you get all your bags screened by, for bombs. That was pretty interesting. And then, did the course. That was over a weekend, and then came back, and then later on in the year I had to go to Geneva for another 3 days and do my super license because you need 2 accreditations.
And this is all for officialing events with motorcycling?
For officialing for world championship level events.
Yeah.
So you have to have that to run a world championship.
Yeah, wow, it's quite extensive. So when it comes to officialing, you're basically as high as it gets and as accredited as it can get.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you sitting down with me here today. I've obviously been on the other side of the fence, official, so it's awesome to sit down together. And I guess got a few questions to go through, and we're going to get into the rule book and officiating and all that sort of stuff. But I just want to highlight your passion for bikes first off. Mm-hmm. I noticed this when I sat down with Peter Doyle, the CEO of MA. You hear the title and you see the name and you think, oh, he's probably quite serious and just maybe a suit and tie, and come to meet him and he's all about bikes, passionate about the sport. You're no different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Calling you yesterday about bikes. We're talking about them for half an hour just here in the shed beforehand. Give us a little bit of a brief background on your passion in bikes and what got you started to becoming an official.
Yeah, so I never had the opportunity to race. I was always into push bikes when I was young, rode push bikes, not competitively, but I was good at riding them. Mm-hmm. And I never had the opportunity. I was born in Melbourne. The family was working hard, and I didn't have the opportunity to actually have a bike until I was 13. Mm-hmm. And I got my first bike then, and I started to ride more just with friends and things, and started riding out the local club and had a few races. But mum and dad weren't keen on it at all. Like, I think that it's more the time. They weren't into bikes or mechanical stuff. And so I actually gave it away and took up windsurfing. Because I had a group of friends that were doing that and ended up doing that for 4 or 5 years. And I was pretty good at other sports, like I played national state league badminton and all sorts of things, and tennis. And anyway, so when I got a job and I had money, bikes came back.
Right.
So now I was funding myself, and I originally started off with road bikes and did a lot of touring and stuff like that. And then I just gravitated back to dirt bikes because, to be honest, I think they're the most fun of all.
Yeah.
I just like dirt bikes, you don't have to be going fast to be really active, and you're having a lot of fun, and, I'm not going to lose my license, which was what the road bike was going to do to me, and so on. So I just started doing that, started racing in my mid-20s, and doing a bit of that around the club as the club was been in recess for almost all of the 90s. Mm-hmm. And in about 1999, myself and a mate, we said, the club's struggling. Let's go out and give a hand. A couple other people turned out at the same time.
This is at Horsham?
At Horsham, yep. And my boy had just started riding, my eldest boy. He started riding, and he was quite talented on a bike to start with. And there was nowhere to ride.
Yeah.
So we thought, let's get involved and start doing something there. Did that. That was 1999. And I was the vice president. I went there to be the president, and he went to the secretary. But another guy said, I'll be president. We go, fair enough. And the secretary, you got it. The ex-president said, I'll be the treasurer. He got that. And I said, well, I'll be the vice president. Let's all go to work.
Yeah.
And that was really the start of it. And then, it went on until 2000. So pretty much the way it started was a year later we started racing, and my boy was racing. So I got democratically elected, as you do, to be the official, which means you're not riding, you can do it.
Yeah.
And so I went and did my base course, and I think that's often how a lot of guys start out in clubs. It'd be great if people would just retire from their racing and say, I can still stay relevant in the sport, and maybe take that up as a thing, because you are really racing with the fellas that are out there. You're a part of it, and you get the beast set in the house. So I did that. Then I started working with Mrs. Mack. You'd remember Mrs. Mack.
Mrs. Mack,
and Les Odgers. He was awesome. He taught me a lot, Les Odgers, in that era. They were probably the two key influences in my early years. And then, it just sort of kept growing. There was no plans to where it ended up taking me. The sport just took me there.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So, we're doing that. Then, and then in 2001, I rang up a bloke, and I heard he'd been doing was going to do the Victorian Thumpers series. And I rang him up and he said, well, no, I'm actually winding up the Thumper series. I'm currently running the Australian Thumper series, and I'm going to go and develop it into a motocross series. And I said, well, we really haven't got a track. We've got a paddock.
Yeah.
Which is pretty much what was here in 1999.
Yeah.
Anyway, so in 2001, I got a phone call out of the blue. It was from Kevin Williams, who was the guy in question, and he said, "I'm coming back from Manham from the last round of the Thumpers. Wouldn't mind having a look at your track and catching up." So I met him out here, and we had a chat for a while, and we still laugh about it today. Like I said, well, we'd be interested in running it maybe first round next year. And he said, well, we better have a look at your track. I said, well, it's just there, mate. Step right behind me. And he looked over my shoulder. We still laugh about it. And then he's like, where? And I went, over that shoulder. And he goes, where? I said, don't worry about the track, mate. How about we just sign this contract and we'll go racing?
Yeah.
And we had some great guys in the club like Matt Baker and Petch and all sorts of guys around the club. And they had the gear and we had the passion and designed a track, and away we went. Yep. And we ran our first nationals, and we were told we'd never be able to do it. Didn't have the experience. We ran our first one in 2002. Now we've run 11.
Yep.
We've run state titles, multiples of those, juniors and seniors. We've run 2 lots of the Australian Junior Championships. We've run ATVs, we've run sidecars, women, rookies, and then, a great guy in our club, Kenny Watts, at the presentation in 2013 said, well, we've run them all, but we've never run a world, so we ran a world.
Yeah.
The only club to ever do it.
Yeah, for sure.
So, it's been an amazing journey, which has just carried me into the Nationals.
Yeah.
I was invited to go there and start off. I started off in the waiting area, checking guys in.
That was like your first, like officials
at a national level. Yep. At a national level. Yep. I've been doing plenty outside of that.
Yep.
At state level, but at national level, that was the first one. I was Supercross at Parramatta, last one.
Yep.
And I ran the waiting area. Nearly got run over crossing the start line. You learn that real quick. Always look check where the traffic's coming from. It's a good, healthy way.
Wow.
So I did all that. And then the next year I was invited to come along and be an assistant clerk, of course, to Cameron Schreiber. And I did that for another 4 or 5 years. And then I became the clerk and just kept going down that road.
Awesome.
The industry took me.
Yeah, no, it's cool just to hear that you're into bikes first and then official second. So you weren't just some official from somewhere that decided they wanted to come and jump into this sport. You're in the sport. Yeah. And then it's taking you onto an official's role.
Absolutely.
Cool. And then we're here at the Hor Motorcycle Club. We've got the board up on there of all the members, all the presidents, vice presidents, treasurers. You're up on there a few times in different roles.
Yep.
Which is awesome.
It's been a grouse journey.
Yeah,
been amazing.
Mate, it's unreal to think, like, I sit down and talk to people about their journeys in the sport, and it basically has an entry barrier of 0. Like, anyone could come in and be an official or be a volunteer or be a help out at a club, be a flaggy or whatever it is. And it often always is, like, the best experiences I have are always motorbike related, all just starting from coming out as a flaggy on a corner or something like that. It's
Absolutely.
It's awesome. So it's a really good way to network and be involved in the sport, and it's worked out pretty well for yourself.
Yeah. And we make friends from all over Australia. Like, so, like, it's strange. Most people grow up in towns in their individual sports or whatever. And, they know everyone in the town, and that's where all their friends are nucleus, especially in regional areas. But, we've travelled, with my boys racing, not just with me. So Jory went on to being a national level rider, and, we travelled around and did the circuit, and before I started getting more serious in officiating. And, and we've got friends in Queensland that, we catch up with regularly, and people say, oh, do you know where Foster is? Yeah, been through there. Oh, really? Foster? Like up in New Zealand? Yeah, we've been there.
Yeah.
It takes you everywhere, and our family and our friends are all over Australia.
Yeah.
They're not even in one place, and I've seen them a lot of tracks. Seen a lot of fantastic racing, like the best views of the circuit. Assistant clerk, of course, was the best role. I can tell you. I got to pick the one place on the track that had the best view, and all I had to do was watch and oversee the crew, and I got to see the most sickest guys ride.
It's awesome. I always encourage people, like, if you just have any interest in motorbikes and you got a free weekend, just come and help out at a round or a club or something like that. And, like, I mean, how many times have you been on the floor of a Supercross in between a full crowd of people watching a race?
Oh, 20 or 30 times at least.
Just to do that once in your life, like, pretty rare to be on the floor of a packed stadium, and
still is just, it's such a rush. Like, you go to Marvel Stadium and do World Supercross, you got a packed crowd that's going off its head. Yeah, it is amazing, and you don't have to watch the race, because you hear where the accident was, because the forward pocket, all of a sudden the crowd's the first to light up. Yeah, awesome. And then, like, and it draws your attention to where anything is, and then next minute it's going off behind you. It is an amazing experience.
It's a front seat to probably the most exciting sport.
Absolutely.
The best places you could imagine,
Absolutely. And you have to work, but, like, you get also to sit back and be a part of that show and be integral to it, because, like, we can actually make a difference to how it runs and how it performs and how TV works, and all those things come into play when you're at that level. And it's about putting all the pieces of the jigsaw and then sending them out on track, and then the main show start.
For sure.
And let the riders showcase what they can do. Yeah. And, man, some of the things they're doing, like, is just incredible. Yeah. I had the pleasure to watch Jet Lawrence at Supercross in Melbourne. And he nearly binned it. Nearly binned it going down the rhythm lane and lost control. And he came in and he was like, oh, did anyone see what happened there? I go, oh, I didn't. He's turned around, oh, it was off his head. And, and I'm like, yeah, I know. I thought you were going to eat it for sure. So you get those connections. And I was talking about the people you meet. So I've still got friends that are like 7, 8 years old. Yeah. And I've got friends that are in their, the same age as me and even older. They all came from the sport. Yeah. Even yourself, Kale. When you rang up and I said, oh, how you been? I just know you from the sport, and we can talk as mates would.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I recommend it. I couldn't recommend it highly enough to anybody to get involved in it, for sure.
And then, you can stay with it. You can race till you're dead.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, you get the same...
a long time.
Try it. Yeah. So I get the same rush now, whether it's coaching or building a track or just participating in any form or whatever it is. Like, you still get the same adrenaline rush from it. Yeah. Maybe it's not quite as what racing was, but it's pretty damn close, just being in that atmosphere.
It's good to be around.
And doing it, And you mentioned about the people you meet. Like, I'm getting married this October.
No, congratulations.
The majority of people are...
It's not too late. You can still run. I'm talking to your wife there.
Yeah, no, I'm locked in. So.
Yeah, okay. Cool. That'd be great.
Yeah, it'd be an expensive operation to run away. Majority of people are from motorbikes that are coming. Like, I look at my friends, I think, who are the people I grew up with, who are the people from the bikes, and it is like that becomes your networking circle, your group. So it's an awesome exercise for anyone to do. You mentioned it's work. So touch on that side, becoming a level 1, a level 2, all the way up to where you are. What's the process if you were to say the average person out there, they've got a passion in bikes, they enjoy that type of role, how would they get themselves involved, and then where could that lead to?
All right. It all starts at a club.
Yeah.
So and in our case, it's got to be Motorcycling Australia based club, affiliated clubs.
Yep.
Others have come and gone in that process, but really it needs the structures. So that gives the pathways. So, and the pathways we're still developing right now. So you start off at the club and just turn up and say, what can I do to help? That's really all you got to do.
Yeah.
What can I do to help? And then they'll find you something to do. And it can be hard going into a new club or something. You don't know people and might feel a bit cliquey or whatever, but you got to understand that they all know each other. Like, you're the outsider. So if you make that effort, you'll find that people will generally respond and they'll get you involved. So, you might start off just running the start line or, dropping the gates or waving a flag or whatever it happens to be. And be consistent and turn up.
Yep.
They're the important things. And then as you get through, then you start working with people. You get involved. You might be watering the track. Now once you finish watering the track, it's time to go racing. You're now dropping the gates, or you might be lap scoring, or you might be working in the canteen. All these things are vital for a club. And in today's world, they talk about how it's hard to get volunteers. No one wants to volunteer, and it may be true, but our sport is vitally dependent on people just going, you know what, I'm going to help. And they need to stand up and turn up because, you can't drop your kids off at the stadium in basketball and drive away and it'll just run. But I know how they have their troubles. Here, you can't really not leave your kids.
Yeah.
You need to be here. You may as well be doing something. And then the old age excuse is, oh, my kid's racing, I can't do it. Well, that's garbage because you normally work with someone else. You would have seen it with families like, you've broken the chain. Was it your dad fixing the chain, or was it the guy in the pit next to you was helping out because dad was out flagging?
Yeah.
It's about like the family it's a family sport, and it means the family of motocross.
Yeah.
Not just your family. It's the family of motocross. That's what will set us apart. That's what makes us strong. So you start off at club. Then if you're really keen, get involved in interclub. You go on to your region events in Victoria. Different states have different kinds of systems, but get involved in that. Now you're starting to step it up. You've got to be a little bit more on your game. The competition's hotter. You're dealing with people you don't know, and things like that. And you're basically crafting your skills at that level. Then the opportunity will come, like if you work hard and you're doing the right things and you're handling yourself well, the chance will come up. Now it's a state title. And then you start to work into that level, and you should not leave the club because otherwise they're abandoned. You take everything you learn, take it back to your club, and then train the next person and go forward. So it gives a pathway for everybody. And then if you're really fortunate, you get to come to the nationals, and then maybe ultimately you'll come to a world championship, and you may not be the clerk of course or a steward, but you'll be on the floor waving flags and being a part of the action. And in the undergrounds, walking along, having a chat to Ken Roxon or whoever it happens to be. And they're just blokes.
Yeah.
They're not, there's nothing that special about them other than the fact that they can ride real good.
Yeah, they all become your friends.
Once they take the helmet out, they're just people you talk to about stuff.
Yeah.
So, so it's just get involved and work hard, and don't say no. So even though it might be inconvenient, when you get the offer to do something at a higher level, say yes.
Yeah.
And turn up, because you may not get the offer again because someone else said yes.
Yeah.
And now they get the road up there. So
what are the numbers like in terms of officials in Australia? Are they in demand? Are they oversupplied? Is there enough? Is it over and out?
I wouldn't have, if I had to put a number on it, I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Not enough is the answer.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of officials that are doing nothing. I don't know why they're not doing nothing.
So people with accreditations that just
not officiating.
Yep.
There are also a lot of officials that are in different disciplines. So you might be dirt accredited, but you're not interested in motocross. You're interested in enduro. So you sort of go off on your pathway. An important thing in that is to try other disciplines, because it's amazing what you learn. You go to a road race meeting, you actually can pick up little things and you go, geez, that could work for us. Now you go to an enduro and you go, oh, okay, I see how they're controlling those corners out the back where people can't see. Now you can pick up all sorts of ideas about how to do it, and then you just try it.
Yeah.
Does it work? Does it not work? They ditch it.
Yeah.
How they use flags, how they brief people. So, just say yes and turn up.
Yeah. And so then what's like your daily roles when you're at an event? Say you're officiating the Horsham Pro-MX here the other day.
Okay.
What does that mean?
So I'm actually the race director for Pro-MX.
Yep.
So it's probably easier for me to talk about what I do as a race director for Pro-MX.
Yep.
So my week usually starts a month beforehand. We're having meetings online with the clubs. And COVID helped us with that. So we had meetings online with them. We have another meeting with them about 8 days out, just checking where they're up to with their track prep, where are they up to with their volunteers, where are they up to with their catering, because, it's our responsibility to make sure the spectators are looked after.
Okay.
Have they got people to clean the toilets?
Yep.
Have they got enough food?
So you're overseeing that the club's organised
the entire event.
Gotcha.
So basically everything to do with what's going on track, I'm overseeing that. With the clerk, of course, takes a major role in that as well. But I'm also the connection from the track to the pits, to what the people eat, how the ticket box is going to work. And we've got a really good team in MA that they're the core team that come along. And they sort of handle a lot of that, the ticketing and stuff. But I'm the club guy, I suppose.
Yeah, gotcha.
I'm understanding what they're hearing and what they're thinking, because sometimes it's a bit confronting and you're like, why do they want that? And then I can sort of coach them through that, and this is what we need. And to run a professional race meeting, this is the level you need to be at, and we can't be turning up here on Saturday morning like we do at a normal clubby and winging it. We don't wing it. Everything is planned. Everything is we take out all our risks. So I arrive then at the track on Thursdays usually for a Sunday race meeting. So I'll roll in around lunchtime on the Thursday. This year the clerk comes in because I'm cross-training those guys. So they come in as well, and we'll walk the track usually together. At Horsham, because it was my track and I know my track, I told Mark that I'm not walking this track with you, because he needs to see it for himself. Yeah. Okay. So, and he came back with things that I would miss or I don't miss, whatever. So we walk the track, and then we have a quick meeting with the club, just checking in with them. And then we'll go away and we build a works program, which will have anywhere between 40 and 60 items on it that still need to be done. Right. And they need to be done. And that'll be down to just even things like, do you have a welder? Will it be at the start line? Is there power? Gotcha. Do you have spare parts for the watering system? Even that's on the list. So there's things that are always on the list. There'll be others around saying, look, we need you to widen the track here. We need you to mark the track there. We need you to, build us some, we're using earthen bunds, now to protect and defend the track. Okay. Because we can't use tyres anymore. We can't use hay bales anymore because the insurance claims, which, the insurance is a massive issue. It's going to be the thing that'll kill us. And if we don't get our act together as a sport, we're not going to, the insurance will stop us. Yeah. Yeah. Because I can tell you now, we've got a no-fault policy that we operate under. That means even if I make a mess of it, I'm at least covered by the insurance. Okay, these things will stop, and there's no way I'm losing my house over an event. So that's how critical it is. That's the gross negligence clause that they put in
Was it this
It is the gross negligent clause.
which basically means if an individual's done something wrong or they have ignored the processes, they're at fault, not the insurer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it was a bigger deal with other competitors, we'll call them, at the time, because you were always exposed.
Mm.
So the MA is the only one that wasn't.
Yeah.
So therefore, it is a problem, but what it will do is it'll stop the sport from the point of view that riders won't be able to get insurance.
Yeah.
So there'll be no insurance. Well, that's what I'm saying. No insurance. As soon as you got no insurance, you got no sport. It's a dangerous sport.
Yeah, because the no insurance means that the landowner isn't insured. The landowner is usually owned by the councils. The councils aren't going to risk it, which means there's nowhere to ride. Even if you want to have an event, a private landowner would have to host it, and then they'd be liable, or they'd have to find their own insurance.
And they won't find it.
And most probably wouldn't want to take it. And then I've tried, you can't really find it. So, yeah, no one will.
Well, I can only go off what I've been told coming out of MA, that basically even to have the word motorcycle on a policy basically is a difficulty. And that even means insuring your building.
Yeah, I called like maybe 14 different insurance companies. And yeah, basically you don't even get a call back once you mention motorbike insurance.
Yeah, there you go.
It's my property. Yeah, that's it.
So, I think it's our responsibility, like as officials, we've got to do the best we can. And if you're doing the best you can, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Like common sense will prevail. So you do the best you can and make sure the boxes are ticked and things that are prohibited don't happen. Mm-hmm. And that's really where we're at now.
Yeah, so I guess that leads on to where you have the riders that just want to ride and race and do their thing. You'll have you that has to follow the rule book to a T. Otherwise, you understand the sport is liable and won't exist, potentially. Does that ever cause issues between the riders wanting to do certain things and you having to draw the line on what is a written rule and not a written rule?
I would say it happens almost daily. Like riders always want to do their own thing, and they never did it.
Mm.
Common thing when you pull them up, they never did it. It didn't happen.
So what do you mean? As in like on the track or?
Yeah, on the track. Yeah. They basically want to do what they want to do. And without, I won't say without disregard or care for anybody else. That's not true. I think most riders do act in a safe and safe manner. There's no problem with that. But it's also, in a way, it's their job to find an advantage.
Mm.
It's our job to make sure that advantage is fair and safe. It's that simple.
Yeah.
You're looking for, that's why mind games go on at the start line. They're looking for an advantage. There may be no cheating going on. It's just something going on between you and me, and you're getting in my head.
Yeah.
That's a part of the sport. That's a part of the competition. Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
I find it really quite interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
And they do the same to us.
Yeah.
They get in our head, they're already in your face, things like that. And you just got to realise that, they're chasing their dream.
Yeah.
A guy once said to me, and I never forgot it, they're all there chasing their dreams. And we're sort of like the police, and we're stealing their dreams.
Yeah.
Because when we penalise them, we take away their dream.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got to understand that's the environment we're working in. It's like high adrenaline, high heartbeat. People are pumped. They've got all the emotions are running on the edge.
For sure.
And, you got to be the proverbial duck.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. So they say, like, you make the best decisions when you're calm. You got a bit of time to think about it. Motorcycling is probably the opposite. High adrenaline, 180 heart rate, fear of death, consequences. You're just doing things probably more so automatically and thinking go forwards.
Yep.
And then your job is to maybe at some point say, oh, you did the wrong thing there.
I'm fair and safe.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
Stay on the track if you can.
Yeah.
Race safely.
Yeah, gotcha. So
you're never going to have a trouble.
Yeah. How does it go with the rule book, like enforcing? Because obviously it's a bit of a tricky one. Like the rule book, I guess, would get rules added to it every year or get stricter and stricter in a sense.
In a sense. So it doesn't change a lot.
Okay, yeah.
It's usually just little tweaks. It's pretty solid.
Yeah. And then you're having to enforce them probably more so each year with the insurance thought in mind, like you can't have anything.
Insurance is more of a venue issue.
Yeah.
So it's rather than a race issue. So it's about how you present your track, how you present all the facilities and anything that's a danger. So that's probably more where the insurance comes from. So anything that is outside of the racing. Once it's inside the racing, it's about the racing.
Yeah.
Now the rule book's coming into play because they're the rules of racing.
Yeah.
They're the rules of sport. Every sport has rules. So they're the rules of the sport. They don't change that much. And they're more tweaked for things that might be changed. So one of the things that's the significant change is the introduction of e-bikes. You know, there's a whole section of rules have to be written just on that.
Gotcha.
You know, so, you know, and you're going to see a lot more go on in that space now.
Yeah.
But the actual basic rules don't change a lot. One of the best rules that came in, and I was a part of that through the Motorcross Commission at the time, was harmonising the flagging rules between the FIM and Australia, because we've got things that go on in Australia that were different over in America, and people go, over there it's this, and over there it's that. Well, we're affiliated with the FIM. We do what they do.
Yeah.
And then introducing that to the rule book and making it a national protocol, and the penalties for infringements in writing has been the best thing for the official, because basically it gives the official nowhere to go. Flag rules are there for the safety of people. And, you know, once you go to a waved flag, whether it be yellow or medical, the consequences of not obeying it are significant.
Yeah.
So, you know, one day it's going to be tested where people don't obey them and they hit someone and kill somebody. It'll be interesting to see how the insurance gets tested then, because that rider has now been negligent.
Yeah.
So whether there'll be something in that space that develops, but at this stage, it's a no-fault policy. So
yeah.
Our job is to pick them up. You know, we can't get them all. We're like coppers. You know, sometimes you're speeding and you get away with it, and other places you don't. And when you don't, you suck it up because you got away with it in other times before. So
I guess where I was heading with that is that, like new rules and regs are added all the time, you know, most of the time. They're never ever really taken away too much. Do you think it ever gets to a point where there's maybe it's a little bit too strict and stringent and you have to enforce things that you don't want? Or is it, you think it's pretty good and fair across the board?
I would say at times it becomes too strict and stringent, and it's usually because someone's doing the wrong thing. So every rule in life is written for someone that's been doing the wrong thing, the baddest person. So where we've just seen one just issued just in the last week, where it was clarification that the swing arm of a motorcycle on a 50 or on a motorcycle is a part of the frame.
Right.
I would have thought realistically a swing arm is pretty much a part of the frame.
So what's the subframe? They modified it? Or?
So people are modifying the swing arms and saying it's not a part of the frame.
Gotcha.
So they're lengthening them.
Yeah.
And stuff like that, you know, so now they come out and said, and includes a swing arm, you know, why did we have to even put that in? It just seems common sense that you shouldn't have to do it.
Yeah.
But someone's obviously doing it.
Well, yeah, it's almost the writer's job in a way to try and find those little holes
or dads.
If they can. The old dads.
When it comes to 50s, it's always the dads and the bike builders.
Do you have serial offenders that? Because it is I can't think of an example, but every now and again you will find there might be a little bit of a loophole somewhere in the rule book. Someone will exploit it. They'll do really well out of it. And then I know in the AMA, you couldn't change the frame, so they started hollowing the insides of them where you couldn't see that and things like this. Does that happen at all in Australia? Or?
Yeah, titanium bits.
Yeah.
When they're not allowed to have them, titanium axles.
Gotcha.
Things like that. There's plenty of it goes on.
Do you think those things are necessary though? Or?
Well, the scientists say so, because basically titanium is more brittle component than forged steels and things like that, and it has a tendency to break. You know, so if you have an axle,
yeah,
you know, and you're running titanium bits in it, and it's shattering, it could have some pretty serious consequences.
Yeah, I got you.
So you know, and then it becomes also money. So it's about keeping the sport as affordable as it is. It's it's an expensive sport. but it is also one of the cheapest motorsports there is.
I think it is the cheapest, yeah.
Absolutely. Like try go-kart racing.
Yeah, well, would be the next closest. I know it's not cheaper.
I mean, it's way more expensive.
Yeah.
You know, and try going out road racing.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a $3,000 day. And that's if you don't crash.
I think a license to go ski racing is like $3,000 for the year.
Ski races?
Yeah, you do like 3 races a year. Don't quote me, it's between $1,000 and $3,000. It's a lot.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, it is a cheap sport, and everyone whinges about the fact their license goes up by $5. And I just and have you looked at the bling on your bike? And so on. So, but I like the bling on the bikes, by the way. It's pretty cool.
Do you ever find yourself between a rock and a hard place enforcing some rules or making some decisions?
I don't think a rock and a hard place. It's probably the hardest thing, and we're actually been doing some work in this space. It's actually about how to penalise.
Yeah,
is probably the thing. Because the only place in the rule book that actually tells you about what to penalise is wave yellow flags, wave medical flags, sound testing,
right,
fuel testing. That's it.
Gotcha.
I can't think of anything else that's truly there that's significant to the racing itself. Yep. Everything else is a bit open to the clerk of the day, because you can't write a rule and a penalty for every single thing that happens, because there's still, I've been doing this 25 years.
Yeah.
And they're still coming up with new and exciting ways to get away with things.
I guess that's where I was going with it. It's is personal discretion ever at sort of...
It's always there.
Yeah.
So so what we've formulated at national level is we now have a two-sided A4 sheet of what we call standard minimum penalties.
Gotcha.
So if you do this, this is what you're going to get.
Yep.
So we're consistent that when you do that you got it, and he got it, and she got it, and everyone got exactly the same penalty at this level.
Yep.
But we've also got a duty to help beginners. So at club level, I wouldn't be going, so if I said riding in the pits is a $250 fine without a helmet on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I would say if the same thing happened in the pits at a club day to a 7-year-old, I hope I'd never have to do it, is $250 an appropriate penalty. For sure, at that level, we've got to help them a bit, coach them what is right, help them through that process. If they're recidivist, which means the next time I go to a club day, the same thing happens.
Yeah.
Now I've got a problem. You've had your one warning. Now I'm starting to think, what am I going to do to you next? And, I may not be going to $250, but I'm sure that something's going to happen. And I can't really hurt the rider, but I can hurt Dad's wallet. Okay, so the higher it gets, the less I fine.
Yep.
Okay, now we start to talk about riders.
So the higher you get in the sport, the less...
The higher the level. The higher level the infringement.
Oh, gotcha.
I don't tend to use money. I've tried that. Doesn't work.
Yeah.
They just pull out a roll of hundreds and start peeling them off. Okay. So, so points are the best penalty at that point in time.
What's the most common thing you're penalising for?
Flag infringements.
Yeah, as in yellow flag, blue
yellow flags, and never. There's no penalty for a blue flag.
There's not?
It's an honour system. We'll certainly have you having to talk to you when there's a couple of people that have a tendency to try and race the leaders as they come through.
Yeah.
It's not cool. And
I would just say as a previous racer, don't tell me you don't know the leaders are behind you. I reckon you're 100% aware that they're there.
Yeah, and you've been warned.
Another day, yeah.
And it's just, it's a whole different conversation. That's really just respect.
Yeah.
It's a respect flag. So certainly flags are the most common. Course cutting is really common as well.
Yeah, that was always a tricky one, because once someone hits that marker, if the marker's not there, I'm going inside it.
You probably hit the marker, Kale.
I don't know who.
You probably removed it. I know coaches that actually train people how to bunny hop their back wheel and flick tyres away.
Yeah.
And widen the track up.
Look, I've had days where, if you get past in the last corner, that's a $5,000 pass. Maybe you could have snuck, someone snuck up the inside where there was or wasn't a marker earlier in the day. It's a tricky one though. I don't envy your job at all, having to draw the hard line on what is and isn't acceptable.
So really what we're looking for is behaviour.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, at your level, you knew where your wheels were all the time.
Yeah.
Like, you know where you're steering, and I know where you're steering, and I know that you're in there. I was watching it. You steered in there.
Well, we'll give an actionable one.
Okay.
You've got a 180 left-hand turn.
Mm-hmm.
There's 6 markers on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
The first 2 have been knocked out.
Yep.
So you could technically go like a metre in on the grass through where those 2 markers now aren't. They've been moved.
Sure.
Is that legal or?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you should remember where they are.
Let's take one step back. You all did a first lap of practice. All the markers were in place.
Yeah.
You probably did practice. All the markers are probably still in place. You know where the track is.
Yeah, so it was always
you know where it is.
Like, you'd see a marker go and you go, right, that one's missing. I'm not going to be the first one to go inside of it. But once like 10 other people do, well, then it's okay. I can go there.
Yeah, because the officials either aren't seeing it or they're allowing it.
So you're trying to see it in real time and fix it?
Well, maybe not even fix it, because, like, if I go in and fix it in real time, I had a guy putting his head down to bang a marker in with bikes going past his ears.
So where are you on the line? Like,
it's got to be fixed after the end of the race. So basically, it was there when you started. Like, the fact that it's gone now, you knew it was there. You know where your track is. So in that case there, you've missed 2. You're inside a metre. So where are you coming out? That's what I want to know. So you're going to come out before the first marker you see, but you're a metre inside.
Yeah, so basically
where are you coming out, Kale?
Between the first and the fourth, because the second and the third aren't there.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you have cut the course. You know you're in there.
Yeah.
You thought, I'll come back on where I deem the place to be.
The next marker, yeah.
Yeah, which could be it. But what I'm also then looking for is this. So the rule is leaving the track's not a problem. You leave the track for all sorts of reasons. It's your behaviour after you leave that track.
So
the first point is, it's part of it. So the first is, did you slow down?
Yep.
That's always, every rider slowed down apparently. But, did you really slow down? That means back off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so did you slow down? Did you rejoin at the nearest practical point? That means as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do so in a safe manner, so you don't just go punching back out onto the track?
Yeah.
And did you gain any advantage? The chances are, in your example, when you've gone in, you're saying, I got pushed out, I was probably in 15th, and I got pushed in there. Just say that's what happened.
Yeah.
But the thing is when I came out, I was in 13th.
Yeah, well, I guess...
Because you had the shorter path.
Yeah, so... There was always times in racing, I'm not sure if it's changed today, but yeah, say one marker would go missing, 2 people would go like a foot inside, then 5 people would, and then before you know it, the main line is
over there,
just inside of that marker. Now everybody's doing it. What do you do there?
If everybody's doing it, you just let it go for the race and then rectify it after, or decide, are we just going to give it to them?
Yeah.
So I had that instance actually happen at Portland on the weekend. There was one corner, had this sick little rut develop, and it had a real hook at the end. It literally looked like a fish hook. It came in with a big hook. And that hook, when it came out, was gnarly as, and it was actually kicking them off the track because it was really close to the edge, and kicking them off the track, and they were missing the marker. They were trying not to, but it's just where the bike was going.
Yeah.
If you were going quick in that corner, that's what was going to happen. So all I did was, I actually pulled that marker out. I just let it go, and then put that, because they couldn't control it, and it was happening repeatedly. And I thought, okay, I've either got to fix that rut now, which was a really cool rut, or do I just move that marker 6 inches?
Yeah, gotcha.
And that's what I ended up doing, just because we were in the last 3 motos of the day.
Yeah.
To stop racing then, just give them that 6 inches of track is all they needed.
Yeah.
And we had a track bun that was stopping the rest. So
yeah, gotcha. Yeah, so I know it's like a racer.
And does that sound like fair and safe? Well, it was fair for that race and every race that came after it.
Yeah, it's always there's that little bit of a grey area where it's a discretion call. Like, if I've seen 20 riders going on that marker, I'm like, well, now I'm at a disadvantage if I don't go where everyone else is. It maybe
it goes back to steering.
Yeah. So
were you steering into that? This was happening of no fault of their own.
Yeah.
It happens on sides of jumps. Sometimes a kicker develops and things like that. And, in the interest of safety, you've got to do something about it.
Yeah. So what's another common penalty? I'm trying to rebuttal a little bit as the rider.
Yeah, okay. Turning up to the waiting area late and saying, I'm not that late. No, mate, you're late. You're out. There's probably course cutting is significant. Just some off-course things are common. Riding too fast through the pits.
Yeah.
Things like that, they're not cool. Kids run out from behind cars and things like that. They're just not cool to be doing that. We've got to look. Yeah, but sometimes common sense doesn't work so good.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where you go.
We owe it to our sport to do those things.
Yeah.
Because, if we're going to be professional, we've got to act professionally.
Mm-hmm.
So doing those things don't count. They're probably... There's not that many others that really, they're the most common. When I say the most common, they're significantly the most common.
Yeah. That's not too bad.
No. So it's actually not that hard.
Yep.
What is hard go back to our club, is so at a club level, that same offence, how would I deal with that and what penalty would I give? May be different from an inter-club. Once you get to state level, it's the same as national.
During
If you're at a state event, there's none of this, so I had one on the weekend and he said, I didn't mean to during the first lap of practice, I cleared a double.
Mm.
I didn't try to. I didn't mean to. Doesn't cut it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
That's just a hollow excuse, and it won't change me at all what I'm going to be thinking. So generally an official's made up his mind. Once he's handing you the penalty, he's made up his mind.
Yeah.
He can't change his mind. You can keep on going all you like, Kale.
Yeah, no, it's like
cannot change his...
Arguing with a police officer, when you get a fine, you just cop it and go.
Yes. The difference is you have an opportunity.
Yeah.
It's called protest.
Yeah.
You can protest my decision because I can't change it. Only the steward can change my decision.
Gotcha.
If you don't like the steward's decision, the only way it can be changed is to appeal it.
Mm-hmm.
So then you go on to an appeal process.
Does that happen often?
Yeah, it happens sometimes, especially at pro level. Absolutely. Absolutely, it happens. So not so much at any other level. So the whole goal is to leave it at the track.
Yeah.
We don't want things continuing after that. Leave it at the track. It's finished.
I actually Googled it the other day. Why was I Googling it? You can Google up those appeals cases. They're on the internet there somewhere. I don't know. I was in some rabbit hole, but you can find it. And there actually was a few examples of where it had gone to a sport tribunal court just about some track cutting issues. Yep. Oh, Jesus Christ. That's a lot of effort.
Well, it's big money.
Yeah.
Like at pro level, there's a lot of money at stake here, and there's sponsorships and, and prize money, and, it just goes on. They're significant things. So they're going to throw it, and sometimes it's pride. If it's coming down to a factory, the factory, the last thing they want is a blemish on their record, so they'll take it all the way and try and clear their name.
Oh, of course. It's almost a form of competition to sort of get away with as much as you can without breaking the rules, and then enforcing the rules on the competitors as much as you can to your advantage. Like you do see that happen in other sports and even in America and stuff as well. It's sort of the rule book's almost an extension of the competition for the managers and the mechanics to work with, which makes your job fun.
Yeah. Well, we just try and be as consistent as we can.
Yeah.
That's all we try and do.
Yeah, very good. What are your thoughts on electric bikes? So there's a lot of just on the ruling side of it, they've capped the power, 60 horsepower, 48 horsepower. You've got to have fire extinguishers when you go places with them. Mm-hmm. You're not supposed to park near other competitors, stuff like that.
Yep. So I think with electric bikes, I think it's an unknown journey at the moment. So I think they're going to gather a lot of data at the moment. So the capping, they could have gone down the same pathway as the FIM have. E-bikes compete against e-bikes. Conventional bikes compete against conventional bikes.
Yep.
In Australia, there's not that many around. We rather have people competing.
Yeah.
So MA has decided that at national level, then that an e-bike will be an MX1 bike, and its limited power is 60 horsepower. It's capable of going to 80, but it's limited to 60, and we can actually lock that in for the day, and the scrutineer will look at it, and it can't be unlocked.
Yep.
Okay, so that is going, and that is a power comparative to a 450.
Yeah, they're pretty fair too. Like I've ridden one a lot, and there's not much in it.
And and then at lesser level, so that's state titles and national titles. At club and interclub, you can also ride them in a 250, and they're capped at 48 horsepower, which again is quite competitive with a competitive 250 four-stroke.
Yeah.
So realistically, all they're really saying is if you're on a motorcycle, we want you to compete and we want you a part of it. And they're going to gather information from this, and then, new rules will develop from that. So I think it's a watch this space.
Gotcha.
In that kind of instance.
How closely do you work with MA as an official?
As an official? At a national level, I personally work with them a lot. I also have connection to the Motocross Commission. I was on the Motocross Commission for about 4 or 5 years. And then I stepped away from that through work commitments and other things. We're talking with MA quite regularly. As far as our job, no, they give us the freedom to be officials.
Gotcha.
They don't interfere in what we do, and neither should they. I've always been a strong advocate. If they start telling us, like what the penalty should be or if they want to do that, then put it in writing and put it into rule books. So it's there for everybody.
Yeah.
But that's not in the spirit of the sport. But we need to be independent. So even as a race director, part of my role is I'm a conduit between the promoter and the steward, because the steward is there to work for MA.
Gotcha.
Okay. And he represents MA at that course. The clerk represents the rule book. The race director takes an interest in all three.
Gotcha.
So I have to have the interest of the promoter in the sport at heart, because he's got to make a living. If he doesn't make a living, we don't have these things. Okay. We also have to understand what the rule book is and MA is and their requirements. And then we need to understand who the racers are. So I have a more of a involvement and connection to racers now than I ever had when I was a clerk.
Gotcha.
I didn't need to know people.
Yeah.
But now I need to know what you're thinking, Kale, and because maybe there's something, you got a great idea that we can roll out into the sport, and then I'll connect that up to MA. And so, but as far as just officiating, we don't have really very much to do with them other than making sure the race runs.
Yeah, gotcha. Is it a full-time job, what you're doing, like race directing for the series?
Well, it's not a job.
So I mean, I'm just thinking like the liaising between all those different parties is probably a lot of fun.
It takes a lot of time.
A lot of issues. Like it's not I'm just adding up the hours in my mind. It's got to be a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
So I was in a fortunate position with my job that I was able to do that. And then I semi-retired back in September because it was coming down to a stage where I had to choose. And I had the opportunity, and I was actually going to step aside from motorbikes, but I got an offer to take me out of my business, and it was a reasonable offer, and I thought, well, okay, well, I'll just take that. And the time may not present itself again for another 5 or 6 years, and I don't need to be working when I'm 70. I'm 62 now.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I'll do that, and it's given me the opportunity to dedicate a little bit more time to the sport, because I really do love it, and I love the people more than anything, and I love running good events. Like, there's no money in it. Like, I don't get paid. I do it because I probably do it for me. I enjoy doing it. I get something out of it. I can't say I do it for the sport. I do it in the interest of the sport.
Yeah.
But I probably just really do it for the camaraderie and the people that I know. And
yeah, awesome.
And working with I've got a fantastic team at the Nationals. We've started a key officials program. It's been born there, where we're bringing in locally based things around. So, like when we came to Horsham, we had a guy from Ballarat come up to us. He's only a level 2.
Yeah.
We've had a girl come from Balranald. She's a level 1. and there was others, I'm just giving that as an example. So we only take 6 in, and they become assistants to our assistants. And we run a full training program from Saturday morning all the way to the conclusion of racing, which all the things that we do at a race meeting. So we're passing on all our collective knowledge. But my core team, we're probably carrying, if we combined all our time in the sport, we've probably got nearly 200 years of experience.
Yeah, gotcha.
In their race secretaries and things, and all of us want to pass it on to somebody else.
And so you've created this development of officials?
Yeah, it's been good. So I've actually started it only last weekend at Portland.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to try and roll that out into Victoria as well, because there's no good pathway. Because you don't, sometimes it's a closed shop. You don't get the opportunity to be involved. Sometimes you don't know who to ask.
Yeah,
this is creating a pathway. So when you start off, you're going to be a level 1 official. Then how do you get to level 2? You've got to get experience. You've got to get hours. It's like going for your learners. You've got to do 120 hours. And I think it's something like that. It's a significant amount of time.
Yeah.
So if you don't get enough working time, then you're never going to get the experience. And then you get bored and then you step out of the sport. So all of a sudden we've lost that person who was once keen, is now not keen, and we've lost it. So this is a way of getting them up to speed and getting more of us on the ground so that I don't have to do it so much.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean,
and I can just be a spectator.
Yes, what I'd say. Yeah, they say if you have progress in any endeavor, it's kind of like you get that dopamine feedback. You'll want to keep doing it. So if there's a pathway to continue on, and you can see the next step, and you feel like you're achieving something, that's certainly a good thing. So I was going to say, if you have the pathway, then I guess maybe officiating is probably not sounding like the coolest job. There's maybe people just want to prep the track or do something like that. How would you sort of convince and I guess promote becoming an official? No offense, by the way.
Yeah. There's nothing cool.
No, if you think of the average motocross punter, they're probably they're like, I just want to race and the officials are telling me what to do type of thing. Whereas it's actually the opposite. You're managing the event. You're hosting a great event. You get to have this camaraderie. You meet people and all these sorts of things. There's a lot of positives to it.
Absolutely.
Just from the outlook, you're probably it's probably not the first role that would say jump at a person to do if you're in the motorbike industry. Okay. You're probably typically more a high revenue.
Well, I would say you're the most connected to the race of any official or any other role you can do.
Yeah.
You're so connected. So we're on track, we're racing.
Yeah.
We literally race with the rider.
It's a big responsibility, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And we don't wear protection. Mm-hmm. We've got to trust those riders that when we're standing out in the track and you're coming at us wide open, that you're going to do what we ask you to do and obey us what we need. And they put themselves at risk all the time.
Yeah.
And I'll call it an educator risk. The more experienced you get, the more you understand your connection to the rider and you eyeball them and you know they're connected to you, or you've got to get out of here real quick because it's going to go bad.
Yeah.
And the older you get, the less quick you are. So, but I suppose the biggest thing is it'll keep you really relevant to the sport. So the best officials will probably be riders. Fast riders. So when you're sort of done and you get into the age where you're not, you say you go out there and you can't ride like you used to and so on and so forth, that's a classic time to say, but maybe I could be an official and officiate at a high level because I actually understand the psyche of a rider.
Yeah.
But if I really put myself into a position of truth and fair and safety, then I know what that guy's thinking because I've been thinking it in my past. So it gets you to be racing still and forming relationships. I said to you before, I've got kids 7, 8 years old that I regard friendly. We talk at the racetrack, we talk at the start line, you talk about their day. You're actually racing with them all the time and you're interested in what they're doing still. And then I've got, Dean Ferris, and I'm having the same conversation with him, and Jed Beaton, and so it keeps you really relevant and connected to the sport. A bit like what you're doing now keeps you connected to the sport.
Yeah, I was just like, you hit the nail on the head with the retired riders type of thing, because it's probably, it is pretty common. Like, a rider will retire, maybe nothing else is quite as fun after that. If you've done motorcycling at any sort of competitive level, life can be a little bit bland after if you're just going to do the normal 9-to-5 job, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but I know personally for me, like, I left racing, whatever, I went out into the workforce, bought a home, all that sort of stuff, and after a while you kind of think, oh, this isn't, I'm looking for something more, and the first thing that comes back in your mind is motorbikes. Like, it's an incredible activity to do, and obviously I'm getting back involved in a different way to officiating, but that would be a fantastic way, now I think of it, to get that, I guess, that bit of a fix that motorbikes will always leave you with a bit of a hole wanting. Like, if you've done it, you love that adrenaline, you love that networking, it's
getting hit with roost.
Yeah, just being at a track and just hearing the fumes and the bikes and the spectators and the commentator and the flags, and it's just the whole atmosphere of it. I don't think it really matters which way you're involved, as long as you're involved in some form. And being out on the floor as an official, I think that'd be fantastic. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a great experience.
Yeah, and I think a lot of I guess retired riders could certainly do with keeping the sport in their life somehow. However they do, that's up to them. But
rather than do nothing, or just go fishing or drink beers, and Yobbo from the other side of this thing about how great you were then, actually be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, probably the ego would keep a few riders out of doing that, I would say, but that's not a good thing. I'd say you're better off getting back in there and just being involved, for sure.
And 40, 45 guys, that's the best time. They've sort of got a bit of freedom.
Yeah.
They've had a bit of a break. They're coming back, but they're still riders at heart. And most of them are still riding. Like, I'm still riding.
Yeah. So it never leaves,
it's the greatest sport on earth.
I truly believe that. I think that as well. The adrenaline rush it gives you, and just the atmosphere of it, and it's the pace of it, how quick it is. I think you actually get accustomed to that pace.
Absolutely.
And when you step back in the slower pace, normal world, it's like, fuck this. Your body just craves that something a little bit more, which only motorbikes can really give you if that's what you've done. I'm sure other sports probably the same.
Well, especially adrenaline sports.
Yeah, like if you're used to surfing big waves out in Maui or something, and then you just go, behind the desk, it's probably you're thinking of that big wave the whole time, which motorbikes is, you could relate that to it, or boxing, or any sport really.
Yep, exactly.
In that way, so. No, that's cool. Awesome, mate. So we touched on the officiating, staying involved in the sport. Another thing that's really important in the motorcycling industry is clubs. Basically the foundation of it all, typically the place where people enter the sport. They come in as a rider or a parent or an official or whatever it may be. What's your experience in clubs?
As time goes by, it's becoming more and more difficult for the people that are involved. Like, there's a social media post just came up just the other day of a club in Victoria that's going to run a state title, and and they basically called out for help because there's two of them. Two people going to run a state title.
Two people in the club.
Jeez. Doing everything. It can't keep going like that. They don't realise it'll actually kill those people out of the club because, you got to have someone building the track. We're actually looking now in Horsham to maybe create a relationship with, the people that do the white cars and stuff, the machinery operators, because they need places to train people.
Yeah.
So you need people who can operate machinery.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
How can we build a track without machine operators? And we've still got to order the food, and we've still got to do this. So it's about getting involved with the club and doing whatever you can just to help. And sometimes you may not like it. It's going to be a rainy day, whatever it is, but you've got to step up. Otherwise, the clubs are dying, and it's getting harder. It's hard enough to keep our clubs open as it is with noise issues, let alone not having enough people to actually run the club itself. Every club goes through its highs and its lows, but the common thing is we can't get people to help. And it just needs those people to help, just like we need flaggies to help. We just can't run a race meeting without them.
So aside from money, how do you motivate people to get involved?
Passion. I think it's the only way. You know, we can offer money to the local tennis club to come and flag for us, but they don't come back again.
It's just a Band-Aid. Yeah.
Well, it's the same. Well, it's been happening in Victoria for ages now, and now it's finding hard. It's no different if they came along to me and said, "We'll pay you to come and be ball boys at our tennis tournament." Like,
about that.
I'll probably go along once, and after that, I go, "I'm not doing that again. That was boring as batshit."
Yeah, I mean,
So I'm not doing it.
Most things are built on passion.
Yeah, so it needs the people that are in the sport to stay connected to the sport and support their club in any way they can, even if it's only for half an hour a year. It's a half hour someone else didn't have to do. So it goes back to saying, what can I do to help? And the clubs are struggling, and they're trying to deal with all these other issues like insurance and getting permits. Like the paperwork and the trail is so much higher. But if you're the same person that had to do all that, and then you've got to come out and work in the canteen as well, and then you're off to the start line, and then you're watering the track at the end of the day, and you've been working for the last week and doing 8 hours a day or 10 or 12 hours a day, like you're going to burn them out. So if the riders themselves need to turn up, the riders themselves.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's like, it's not, it's almost like a duty that if you want to enjoy the sport, it's only a small sport, you have to in some way contribute to it and give back. You can't just take. Obviously, everyone wants to race and go to ride days and do the fun things, but if you really truly care about it,
you need to be a member.
You've got to give back in some way, and that's just purely the size of it. You have to do that, or it won't exist. If you do love it, you will do it for sure. Yeah.
So, but it's a great journey. It gives back more than you'll ever give. So there's an old saying: "It is not what the club can do for you; it's what you can do for the club."
I think Uncle Sam said that once.
Yep. And if you just do that, the club gives it back to you in spades. And I suppose in my case, take it whichever way. I'm living proof that can happen. I've been taken on an amazing journey in life. Yeah. Not only getting motorcycle in life and being able to see. I've been to the Motocross of Nations. I've been assistant clerk of course at Argentina, the sickest track you'll ever go to. It's the most beautiful place to have a race meeting at. Just it'll always be in my memory. And Ernie was incredible, just watching the crowd and here in Horsham running a world title. Their memories and people that I've met along the way, like stalwarts of our club and every other club, and
that's awesome.
And the team I've got at the Nationals, it just gives it back to you more than you can ever give.
Yeah, that's unreal.
And just be a part of it and be a reasonable person.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, mate. You're spot on, and good on you, and thank you for all the things that you do. You can really see your passion coming out and how much you love it. So that's a few more.
100%.
Yeah.
So come and join us.
Yeah,
come and join us.
I'm signing up.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually signing up for Gilman. I've almost got all my top participants locked and loaded for Gilman this one. So
what do you mean?
So our Key Officials Pathway program I was talking about.
Yeah.
So I was actually only doing those this morning and going through the nominations and narrowing that down. And, they get a full experience. They even wear the headsets, the whole thing.
Yeah, right.
So they hear everything that happens. And, I'm doing that at the moment. And, so if ever you want to come along, you just have to get your ticket, mate.
Yeah.
Level 1 to 3, you're in.
Yeah.
And it's a great learning experience. And you're out there doing it.
Yeah, for sure, mate, for sure. No, definitely.
And you're out there doing it. So hats off to you too, mate. You're coaching kids and bringing it up and you're promoting the sport and doing great things. So it's great to see you've stayed in it.
No, I appreciate that. And it's funny you said it before and you were thinking, why do you do it? And look, I'd love to sit here and say I'll do it for everyone else, but I just do it because I love it. Like for me, again, you try and serve others through that and you use the vehicle of sports and motorcycling to do it, but
and do the best you can.
You just love it, and you got to do something. Yeah. What else you got to do other than be involved in this sport? Yeah, I can't think of many better things to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, looking forward to it.
Awesome, mate. We'll wrap it up.
Clubby this weekend. Nationals the following weekend. That's my program.
Yeah. Happy days.
Duck shooting tomorrow.
Duck shooting.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, that might set a few people off.
Yeah.
I do that too.
Love that, don't it?
Yeah.